What's up, guys? My name is Diffurious. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to be going over a beat that I had made as part of a community flip for a producer that I follow on Twitch. He goes by the username Spell. Basically how this works is Spell goes on Twitch. He records a sample of himself doing something. It could be anything from piano chords to random noises with his mouth to little sound bites from a video he might have found. And then we, as the producers, go through and flip the sample, and then we create it into a beat. When he had gone on his stream, he did a little thing with his mouth. He literally just recorded something and then sent it out to us and said, hey, flip this into a beat. You get 1 hour to finish it. Then you send it back over and Spell listens to it. And this one wasn't a competition, but it was just a fun little flip. It was my first one that I've ever done, and they ended up liking it. So I wanted to show you how I made the beat. So first off, I'm going to show you guys what the actual sample was that he had us use.
All right, here's your samples. All right, one shot from my mouth, created with my mouth. That's right. Bit of a kiss sound in there. Eh? Bit of a wind. Eh? Woo, snuff. Eh? Bit of a snuff.
Oh, that's what they mean.
Snuff,
Hey.
yeah, snuff. I'll do one more. Hi-hat.
So that's how the sample started. And that's what we had to work with. Literally any of those little things that he did with his mouth. And I at first didn't know what to do. We had an hour to work on it. So I'm just going to play the beat now just to show you guys what I ended up coming up with.
All right, here's your sample. Created with my mouth. My mouth. One shot from my mouth, created with my mouth. My mouth.
And that was the beat. That's what I came up with. So I'll do a little breakdown to show you guys exactly what I did. The initial start of the beat, if I go ahead and grab this guy here. So this was Spell's audio that he had given us. What I ended up doing was I just took this sample. So
All right, here's your sample.
So I initially started with the beginning. So if I were to play these first three here, we start from here.
All right, here's your sample. Created with my mouth. My mouth.
So this is kind of an inside joke. So Spell, whenever he's sort of introducing somebody or he gets super hype about something on his stream, he'll ramp up the echo and the reverb on whatever it is that he's saying to emphasize it. So whenever I wanted to kind of emphasize that on this beat. So when he first says this part.
All right, here's your sample. My mouth.
And then these were the chops that I used for the instruments that I made. So the first thing that I did was I found just something that could flip into something I could play on the keyboard. So it was initially some these sounds.
My mouth. Bit of a kiss sound in there. Eh?
So right here, this So this turned into this instrument here. This was part of this sampler. So what I did was I just cut out that little chunk of the and then I opened up a sampler here. And basically what you can do with the sampler is you can just click and drag whatever audio clip you want into the sampler, and then it'll turn it into a keyboard instrument. And so I dragged it in, it pitched everything for me, but it goes from really high to really low. So if I were to do a little arpeggiation here. So that's kind of high, and then as I go to the left, further down the keyboard, it goes lower. And then the chop that I had brought in, there was too much silence at the beginning and there was silence at the end, and so I just did a little trim here. I just brought this forward, and then it hit too hard on the like on the abbreviation of the so I faded it in a little bit so it'd be like so it wasn't as harsh. So that was one of the samples that I found. And this other one here was what I used for the main portion of the hey. So this hey here, or this A, whatever he says,
Hey.
I turn it into this instrument here. And that's how I turn it into the hays. So I initially started with the hey because I knew I wanted some kind of like dun 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 dun, and that's how that started. So if I were to play this all together real quick, sorry here. So I initially had both of these samples. I had the hey, hey, da, da, dun, 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 and then the ums. I didn't know what I wanted to do with the ums, but I knew I wanted them in there somehow. So I thought, why not just stick it onto an arpeggiation and see what we can grab. So the recorded sample of this sounds like this. So if I were to show you the arpeggiator here real quick, when I started off the beat from where this starts. So I didn't want it to move too far within the octave ranges, but I knew I wanted to get some kind of desperation of it. And I literally just recorded the chords. So if I were to play this instrument, so we have, and so I had it going at an eighth note. I initially had it at a 16th, but it moved too fast, and I just wanted the bum 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 bum, and that's how both of those started. Then after I figured those out, I really wanted to get some kind of like downbeat going to go through all these. So I found that sniff sound that he gave. I think it was right here. That one, yeah. So I literally just put that into the sampler, and then it just turned into this. I added some effects to it. Everything I have on here, in terms of the sounds, I stuck through a reverb, and then on this sniff sound, what I utilized was a tremolo. So it would go from left to right, and I didn't want it to be like so far into each speaker. So I turned down the depth on this, and then I made it so it was a half note tremolo. So you get that kind of, and it just kind of sweeps across the speakers. And then I stuck an echo on it. And the echo was just kind of like a quick thing just to make sure, just to keep it moving. So if I listen to it, it's like, and it kept moving. So I had a little bit more of a wet sound, but then it dissipated quickly because of that. It was on an eighth note. And then I added some chroma verb to it. One of the chroma verb settings that I really like to use for this sort of thing is the room. That was a good initial start. And what I did with Spell's vocals in the beginning, this echo here, when I stuck a reverb on it, I used a bigger room setting. Now at this point, when I had the beat, I had Spell's. I had this intro. I had the haze, the dun 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 dun. I had the arpeggio, I had the sniff, and then I had all those in effects. Then I just needed to add in the percussion. So what I had done for this, I knew I wanted the beat to be, and that the dun 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 of the kick, I wanted to accentuate more in the hat. So. And then, of course, because we want to keep it more of a trap percussion, we do, if we layered the hi-hats onto each other, so we have the, so, then and that was super simple. I just had some claps, had some kicks. So this is what the initial startup started with. So this is the entire percussion line zone. And then putting in the hi-hats was super simple because I just wanted that top line. And then what I usually do for my hi-hats when I'm trying to do rolls is I try to layer it where it's either accentuates after the kick or after the clap. And then I usually highlight both of these so I can see exactly what's going on between both of these tracks here. For this hi-hat piece, all my hi-hats I usually have laid out every single sound on the keyboard. So if you listen here on this hi-hat channel right here, the first one, I just have a bunch of different hats all laid out so I know exactly what I'm working with. And then if there's a hi-hat sound that I like, what I'll usually do is on the second channel, I'll open up the sampler. I'll find which hi-hat sample I initially liked using. So in this case, it was the Hat 43 from the Palace hi-hat sampler kit that I like to use. And then I would use that so I can pitch it down and up accordingly. So I only have one hi-hat in here versus if I were to open up this sampler here. So the Palace hi-hat, this one is strictly just Hat 43. And this was the one that I was using for the kind of the rolls. And so if we listen to both of them at the same time, just the hats. And if we were to listen to it all together. And that was basically how I layered my my drums. And then finally, as we're continuing through, oh, here we go. All right, so my 808s. So these 808 tracks here, I knew I wanted to get a glide bass in here in some way, shape, or form. The way the drums were working kind of gave off a drill vibe, but it also had kind of like a mix of trap in it. So I went more the drill route with my 808s. So if I were to just listen to the 808s by themselves. How I get the 808s to glide first, because I know some people don't know how to do that in Logic. You would go to your mapping and zones. So if you were to drag and drop one of your 808s in here, it would automatically pitch it for you. And so with these drill type beats, obviously you want a longer 808 sound so you can get that glide. And what you would do for that is you would go to details. Up here in the synth portion of it, you go to details. In the mode, you go legato. And then the glide is usually set to 64 milliseconds. Those settings work really well in Logic with glide bass. If you wanted to glide a bit more, you would do a lot higher. So if I boost that up to 164, listen here. Now between 64, it's really quick. And then when I had recorded the bass initially, obviously you wanted to accentuate the downbeats of where you are. So I'm in G minor, A minor, B flat major, and then D. So I initially wanted to do something really crazy with the 808s, but with the way that everything else was working together, it just didn't make sense to overcomplicate it too much. So the 808s I kept it super simple. So. And usually with my 808s, I like to give some kind of like end cap, some like super beefy end cap that is when the melodies are done with everything that's happening in the higher end, the lower end comes through and breaks it and becomes that and then it hits again. And you'll see here that a lot of it's overlapping. That's because in Logic, whenever you're doing, and I think with any DAW that you're using, it's not just strictly with Logic. The signal that it's reading is going to be, so for example, if I were to play it, it'll have that initial root, and if you want to bring it back down to the root, you keep holding it. Similar situation with the glide, because it has to overlap instead of playing like the beginning of it, dun 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 dun, but you want it dun. And so the notes need to overlap with each other in some capacity. It doesn't have to be as big of these overlaps as I have them, but just visually it made a lot more sense for me to see like, oh, this is, this guy is overlapping with this one, and then finally this is overlapping. So that's how I made my 808s. And then finally I have this lead that I came in here a little bit later with, this guy here. In the stream, Spell had mentioned that I took his sample and I just stretched out his voice.
So I could hear what you did there, Brother Die Furious. Hey, you literally took that part that I was trying to take to do some chords or something.
All right, here's your song.
And then you made it longer so that you could do that little whiny lead.
Hate to burst the bubble. I actually used an instrument for this. I opened up Octane, and there's this guitar synth lead that I like to use for some of my beats and some of my songs. It's the Metro guitar lead. I like to use that on my songs, so that was the sound that you're hearing. This one. I really liked how it sounded. It worked really well with this beat. The entire beat was just ridiculous in and of itself. So just having that super annoying over the top lead just kind of full send it. This sort of end section, this outro that I did, I wanted to kind of end the beat with Spell's voice again, just to give it one final send of here's Spell's beat. He made something super ridiculous, and now we get to finally finish it off with this. So I finished off with his audio at the end.
One shot from my mouth, created with my mouth. My mouth.
And then finally, I wanted that gimmick that he does with his reverb and his the echo. And that's the beat. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. Thank you, Spell, for if you see this video. Thank you so much for doing these community sample flips. I had a lot of fun. This is my first flip ever, and it was so much fun. I know I'm going to be continuing to do these flips. This was just a really good way to flex the noggin, see what I can do with what we're given. I was super happy with the end product, and I was really excited to see all these other producers showcasing that they liked the beat. When everyone started getting into it, I was just jumping up and down. I was so ecstatic. It was so much fun. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. Go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these tutorial videos, of these sort of sample flips. I hope to make it a mainstay on my channel. I'm going to be making more beat videos, just starting from scratch. But anyway, see you guys in the next one. Thank you.